Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Jess, and I have the absolute pleasure to share this space with one of my dearest friends, Irene. And we have created a 4-week series to help everyone connect with themselves and then just be a little bit more balanced, whatever balance means for them. And this is all in the context of Mental Health Awareness Month and our mental health extravaganza. So we're super fun, super excited, super grounded, and holding space for you guys to do your thing. So with that said, today is week 2 and we're focused. Last week it was presence, and then this week it's connection. So with that said, Irene, thank you so much for co-hosting today.
Yes, my pleasure. And my pleasure to be sharing this space with you all. I'm going to, I hold on to my slides so to give me also some structure. Just to be sure you're in the right space. So here we are. So last week we actually had already presence, like Jess mentioned, and today we are actually going to dive into the theme of connection. And this is all connected with self-compassion, and it is a practice that, for everyone, but also like for people like healing from their mental health struggle, that I had, and she's also open about sharing about her journey as well. It is kind of an important companion in our healing journey. So just to give you an overview what we are doing here. So Jess and myself, we are holding space and offering this practice, and it's actually going to be co-created with you. It's we are inviting you to self-reflect on this theme, and I'm going to offer also some embodiment exercise to guide the awareness, the understanding, and you will have an opportunity to share among each other in breakout rooms, in smaller breakout rooms, which will not be recorded. So it's completely your safe space. And then we will wrap up. So safety and ground rules. Yeah, so just already mentioned some of it. So we are here, to actually to listen to each other and to share and to learn together, and to keep that safety also. Yeah, please speak the I language from your own experience, from your own reflection. And again, like this is a safe space. We practice not judging each other here, and also confidentiality, respect for what's being shared in the breakout rooms. Yeah. And heads up, there's an exercise which will involve some movement. So see what's possible with you. Like if you have some cables, make sure you don't stumble on it or get tangled. But yeah, all is good.
And we want to add in there,
Yes.
in context of the judging, we need to make sure to keep our inner critic kind of at bay. So it's not just a matter of not judging others. Let's make an intention to be gentle with ourselves, because sometimes we're our own harshest critic.
Yes.
So
great reminder.
always want to remind you guys of all of that too.
Yeah.
No
So,
judging yourselves. Everything is valid and everything is acceptable.
yes. So keep in mind, there's no wrong answer. Yeah, so we're all here exploring this theme. So I'd like to offer these first questions of reflection. Actually, when you hear the theme connection, why is it important to you? In what way is it important to you? And I can share, because from my experience, like I think it's also shared with a lot of people, like we all need human connection. And in my case, it's been a journey about actually connecting more with myself, about kind of being my own supporter in my healing journey. And it is about also, kind of building relationships, relationships from that space that I feel it is in here is okay, that then I can extend that kind of my presence to others. And I'm curious also what it means to you. Why is connection important to you?
And another example and another way to kind of frame it from my personal experience, connection is very important because it's a way that I can evaluate my relationship with self. So it means that before I decided to start doing my own trauma work, I had a lot of friends, a lot of big circles, a lot of friends, lots of people that I could invite to go to different islands and holidays and the fun things. But when I needed a friend, somebody to help me move furniture, or if I was crying, or if I was, going through some kind of life event, or there was a death in the family, I didn't have very many people that would show up for me. And so I didn't realize why that was, because I'm like, oh, I'm the fun person. I'm, like doing all these fancy things and life is great. And I didn't let people in. And so for me, if you keep everyone kind of like at an arm's distance, how can they truly love you, or how can they truly be there for you and with you if you don't let them in? And so I think that, connection is very powerful. From my experience, the deeper I was able to connect with myself, then it became easy for me to connect with others and let other people's in safe and meaningful ways. And so another way to kind of like look at connection, at least from my experiences and my perspectives, connection is super empowering and powerful.
Yeah, yeah. That's a wonderful example, Jess. Yeah.
Can I share something then, Irene?
Yes, please. Who is this?
That is Rob.
Oh, hey, Rob.
This is Rob. For me, connection and also the topic and the interest in this session is more of us. How can you stay to yourself? Sometimes it's difficult to make a connection and then to be accepted as yourself. So it's for me sometimes what can I show? Is it not weird to be to act like I do? What's accepted by the others? So for me sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle. How can I make the connection and be true to myself? So that's what I also try to pick up for today, or I've got some tips and tools from you.
Yay, yes, that's really important what you share, Rob. Yeah, and yeah, it is being true to yourself. Well, kind of connecting from that space of you're not acting to be someone different, but like really it's you. And then to have also that the acceptance from others, but especially from yourself. Yeah, that is what we are going to explore. Wonderful that you say it. Curious if there's anyone else who would like to share. You can also type in the chat if like if you prefer that.
I don't see so much connection with myself, and maybe it's a cultural thing, but for me, connection in my case is a two-way. We come across and we meet thousands of people in our life, but you only truly connect with a few. And I don't know if we control it or it is I don't know, some chemistry. I mean, a recent example. I contacted Irene like a few months ago, and yesterday we decided, okay, let's talk in Zoom 15-20 minutes. And we connect, and we start talking, and the conversation went for an hour, and I mean we could have continued for another hour. For me, that is connection. It's about feeling very comfortable. There's an element of trust that sometimes develop, sometimes it doesn't. When it does, when it doesn't, I have no idea. It would be nice to know what are the tricks, what are the elements that make for a good connection, and a connection which is not good. It's just people that you know, friends, but not strong connections.
Wow. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing, Jorge. Yeah, indeed, it is like a two-way street. And, what we can do, of course, we cannot change the other person, or you have to connect with me. but what we can do for ourselves, what we can offer is, that's always how it goes with connection, that we can offer it first. the trust, the openness, and also the opening up, a bit of like, okay, showing like not only our best side, but maybe also like, okay, like, yeah, also our maybe darker side as well, or vulnerability. And wow, we're already going quite deep actually with just this opening question.
In the comments, we have another one, Irene. Should I read the one in the comments?
Oh, yes, please.
It says, the connection with my dog, a rescue dog, is amazing. She is also a mood thermometer. If I feel uncomfortable, she tells me. She is also reacts when I am feeling good. Some dogs are so in tune with us, which can help us to connect with us 100%. They have therapy dogs and they have emotional support dogs. And it's very interesting when you talk about that. I walk dogs as part of my self-care practice, and the pit bulls, they're some of the most sensitive breeds out there. So there's actually a lot of them that are so in tune with themselves, and they're hyper vigilant and hypersensitive with their surroundings. And so if you're not feeling well, say you have cancer or an illness, they can feel that, they can sense pregnancy even. And then if your mood changes because maybe you don't feel safe or you feel anxious or you're sad, they know how to stop and like interrupt that system to kind of get you back into that present moment. So 100% dogs are love with 4 legs. So I appreciate that sharing too.
Thank you for sharing, Claudia. Yeah, it is also like that's happening also not only with animals, but also us human animals, this mirroring. You know, we feel sometimes like yeah, it is this two-way street again, like what vibes are we getting from the others, but also, you know, because the theme here is kind of about the self-compassion. So also what vibes am I giving out in this context of connection? So I'm going to invite you to to move further along, because it was like the first question. Oh, there's so much, yeah, kind of beautiful things mentioned in the container. So this is a kind of a deepening reflection with yeah, to follow up on that opening question. So there's a very general questions here, like how am I connecting with myself? And yeah, is there a connection with how I connect with myself, with my connection with others? And I'm going to guide you a bit, like yeah, through this different lens, yeah, through the mind, but also through the body and through the emotion. So just keep this question as a kind of, yeah, alive for now. And I'm inviting you to to join me to the realm of the mind. Yeah, this is perhaps like something more concrete than the question just now. So in the realm of the mind, these are some self-reflection you can do, like about, okay, like if you face a certain situation or person, perhaps a new one, unfamiliar one, how do you form an idea about it? Yeah, do you jump towards judgment? And you know, I can share like it is something very very fast with me, you know, like oh, you know, because I have also my past experience, and I quickly sometimes go to a judgment, but then I'm aware, oh, I'm making a judgment, and then, you know, kind of the next question, that's also kind of a bit of a check up. All right, how fixed or flexible is it?
I think another way to support your sharing, sometimes if we don't have that awareness of self, it's very difficult to understand if we're being judgmental, because we see that as truth. And if we see that as truth and we can't see the different perspectives, 2 ways that have been useful for me is being able to question if we can imagine the same exact situation from a younger version of ourselves and also from an older version of ourselves. If we're unable to see multiple perspectives, we're judging. We're not seeing it from truth. So that is a tangible tool that we can kind of understand how the mind works, and also spot check our own personal level of awareness in that exact moment. Just take a breath how would I view the same situation as a child? How would I view the same situation as an elderly person? And if you can see those different perspectives, that's going to help you just simply increase your awareness to your level of judgment or, reality, or I guess it's a reality check, if you will. The second thing would also be to just, as you're thinking about the situations and the different things, check in with yourself on the habits. What have you done before that? Were you by yourself? Were you around a bunch of people that were highly activated? Were you watching the news, which is highly activating? Were you engaged with social media, which is highly activating? If you're engaged with a bunch of things that are highly activating, chances are your mind is lying to you. Simple. If you're by yourself, 50-50. But if you're around a bunch of different things, you've almost 100% been hijacked. Because even like the Buddhists and the monks and all the rest of them, they need that quiet time to kind of unwind and detangle. So two different things to kind of evaluate as you're considering the judgments and stuff in your perceptions.
Yeah, that's really good tips, like to stop and to reflect the different perspectives. And yeah, it is with the awareness, like sometimes like when we are in that agitated space, we tend to see things like in a tunnel vision, and we only see one thing. And that's also shutting off ourselves, like from from that connection, that pure connection with whatever is happening in our surrounding, because we are so attached to this one thing. And that's kind of what we are tickling you right now to reflect, like, okay, is this happening sometimes, or and we are only human, and I think it's also very, very normal to have this, but then to have the awareness that, okay, it's happening, and then we can respond differently, like for instance by first stopping and doing reality check. Now I'm curious if there's any reflection or any sharing about this.
Yeah, Irene, this is Rob again. Looking at the question, I think it also depends on, for me, so when I try to form an idea, if there are alarm bells going off. So I think most of the time it's really quickly, and I think there's a lot of judgment in it. And I think that when you feel it doesn't feel right, then you have to have this flexibility. I want to have this flexibility to then listen and to think, oh, did I jump to a judgment, or am I aware enough of the situation? So it's most of the time sort of like an autopilot. But
Yeah.
it's, I think the challenge for me is to be aware when this warning signal is flashing, for pay attention to what you're feeling. So
Yes,
something like this.
yes, yeah, that's, yeah. So the alarm bells, like, okay, that's kind of a signal from your own system, like your body, your awareness, that, oh, something here needs to needs extra attention. That's actually already kind of, that you have that awareness system that calls you, like, okay, now I need to reflect more. That's actually really good. Then you have
yeah, but it's not always in front of me. So sometimes I'm ignoring the signals, and that's
right. Okay.
not always a smart thing to do. So
yeah. So good that you're aware also of what's happening, that sometimes you're ignoring it. So I can invite you, to what are you willing to do, kind of to not ignore it. So that's a living questions. No, you don't have to answer now, but
no, that's one of the questions in the tips. How to be more aware of that. So.
Yeah. So what I notice also, sometimes we are so quick in saying yes or saying no. Kind of you can also try to be aware. Okay, what is usually my go-to, because like a few years ago, like if someone asked me something, oh, Irene, do you want to do this or you want to do this, and I tend to always say yes. But actually, kind of once I learned to stop and to slow down a bit, and I become more aware. Oh, okay, maybe it's not really what the true answer is that I want. So it's also a measure, you know, like how quick do you respond? Because I heard also you use the word autopilot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to break that autopilot, it's also very simple intervention, which Jess already mentioned. It's really about stopping.
That level, it's a level of consciousness. So it's a level of consciousness that's going up and then it's going deep and then it's going up and then it's going deep. And so it's a constant dance within to kind of understand all the different things. For me, I know 100% I'm in judgment when I get defensive. So if I come from a place of curiosity, I'm grounded, I'm strong in self, and I have confidence, and it's no problem because it's a discussion. It's not an argument. But when I am not grounded, or when I feel threatened, or when I feel that it's not safe, then because of my conditioning, because of my background, because of everything else, I become combative. And it's something to always spot check myself. Why am I offended? Am I offended because of this exact situation, or am I offended because of unprocessed stuff that was coming up before? So it's this constant journey, and it's not to say that it's exhausting. It's just, if you can catch yourself in that moment, amazing. If you can't, that's okay, something to work towards. And if you're already processing as you're going, no problem.
Yeah. It is something that with practice, like you can respond to it in more, kind of more with a more faster response time. And to, but first, like really, you know, if it's kind of to create that awareness, create that space, like to just have a pause, to stop, and to allow that consciousness to be processed. Okay, is this really what I want, or is this like, is this really true what I think? And
slow it down, purify it, and then get going.
Yes. Okay. So
I,
Masanori, yes, you would like
okay.
to say something.
I think this question for me is, it is came from what I did, what I think, or what I say. That came from an idea about a certain situation or person. So, so from that point of view, what I say now and what I do now, what I think now, influence for the future situation and person. Yeah.
Yes. And and also with awareness, as well, what you say now, the idea that you have right now, okay, that can also be checked, you know, if it's involving another person, especially, or a situation involving other people, that with the awareness, okay, this is my perception of it, and you can always check with the other, is this also what you experience, for instance?
Yeah.
Or is that how you see it? And from there, you know, like, we're always learning. No matter how far we've gone, like, we are still always learning. There's always new situations that we don't anticipate. And that's really wonderful how you put it, Masanori.
Thank you.
It is, yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to tickle you some more in the body. Now, because like connecting with the theme of connection, the prerequisite actually of that building connection with others, but also with ourselves, is actually whether we are feeling safe or not in ourselves. Yeah, so like from connection, we touch upon safety. You may feel like, oh, those are two different things, indeed, but they are very much connected. And so this is like, the kind of the big question, like when we look into the realm of the body, like, do I feel safe and at ease to be myself just right now? Yeah, so you might be aware of of your body, like, okay, is it like in a relaxed state, or are you experiencing some tension, or like I'm aware, like sometimes like around certain people, like, oh, I feel like I have to straighten up and be very like, okay, here I am, like I have to really stand my ground. Yeah, you can check that with yourself right now. And the interesting thing with the tension, especially, it is often connected with our survival mode. Yeah, so there's this, you might have heard of the fight, flight, or freeze response. That's something that, that happens like when we feel stressed or we feel threatened. And this is something very, something very primal, biologically. There's a lot going on also in the body that triggers this response. So this is something to check, like in the space of the
Can I
body.
add fawning in there too?
Please, yes.
Fawning is another survival tactic that a lot of people don't always talk about, but it happens quite often. So fawning means people pleasing. So it's when you betray yourself in order to appease somebody else. And in a survival context, it comes from a place of requiring safety. Because if you please others, it's not to be seen, but it's to not be hurt. So when you understand kind of that depth and you start to question why you're doing something, are you coming from heart center and you're doing something because you genuinely want to? Are you coming from your head because you're trying to keep yourself safe and maintain that harmony and that equilibrium and equanimity in your external world so that you don't get hurt? I think this is a very, very important thing that a lot of people kind of pacify a little bit. So we got the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So definitely kind of take that into consideration. And also adding on to what Irene was saying is with your body, if you guys just take an evaluation right now as a fitness instructor, if you're slouching over, you're basically giving all of your organs a big hug. You're not letting them breathe. It's like you're suffocating them. So if you sit up tall and you throw those shoulders back, you give all of your organs permission to do their own thing. And you're like, all right, heart, we'll give you some space. All right, lungs, we give you some space. Okay, stomach, everything else. So just if you stand up, you're instantly going to feel a little bit better too. So if you're not sure about how you feel safe within your body, give everything space to kind of be and see if you feel any kind of difference.
Yes, that's really kind of this feeling safe in the body. Like last week we have the video recording on YouTube, like about like the different ways to play actually with the with our posture. So that's kind of like opening up ourselves. That's also kind of it's in a way nurturing our safety, because like when we are open, like we are showing up, and it is kind of okay to be seen and to experience that. It can be like empowering in a way.
Irene, what are your thoughts on different levels of safety? You have physical safety, you have emotional safety, you have mental safety, and then you have spiritual safety. What are your thoughts around that? My perspective is mental safety would be fear of judgment. So maybe if you feel like you're going to be judged, you might not show up in your fullness because you don't want to be judged or rejected. Emotional safety is you don't want to be criticized for sharing some of your feelings. You might be considered over emotional when stoicism is honored and valued. For physical safety, that's a little bit more obvious because you don't want to get hurt. And then spiritual safety, I haven't quite articulated how I feel about spiritual safety, but maybe it's kind of the scientific perspective versus like the feeling and the mystical and whimsical side of things. What are your thoughts on the different types of safety?
Yeah, that's such a deep question that I was not prepared to answer. But it is I work from the body mainly, but it is kind of in kind of the foundation of it. Safety is something that we sense in our body, and whether it is like the emotional level or the mental level of safety, or spiritual level. It's often like this. There's the neurological connection as well, like how our brain, our magical organ here process all the input, the experience, and then kind of whether we feel safe or not. That's first and foremost, like we feel that in our body. And I like to, always give like this example, like, like you can do this with me. Like if you clasp your hand now, yes, just notice which one of your thumb is on top. And now do it again, but with the other thumb on top. So you might feel this, for the world outside, this may look exactly the same, but inside, like, oh, something feels a bit off. It's not really right. So this is kind of also how we sense, through our, to our whole system, neurology and the brain and so on. And safety is also how sense in that way as well. Our body knows.
I love that simplification. See, you know everything, because it's hijacking the system, safety oversimplified based on what you shared and based on what I know of you as well, is making that switch from your external world to your internal world. So it doesn't matter what's happening externally, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, it doesn't matter what's happening out here. Check in with yourself, look inward. And as you check in with yourself and how are you feeling with, any of these types of things, that is on how you can evaluate your safety. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, yeah. This really is a kind of, we are opening up like in this container, like a lot of themes as well. I promise I'll get back to the body, because I have also some embodiment exercise for that. Let's go to the emotion, the emotional realm. And I just have like this one big question there, like it is about connection. Do I belong? And sometimes we really want to belong, that we do all sort of things out of that fear of not belonging, including this fawning response, people pleasing here, there. But kind of the foundation of it is really actually in our first years, in our childhood, like, okay, like, do we experience that safety as a child? Like going back, and do we have that that protection, that comfort? And this is something that if you have a lack of that in the past, we can still build on that, because this is really about the acknowledging that, okay, like perhaps like in the past I didn't have enough of that empowering experience where I belong, but we can still build it up, no matter how old we are, like we can create those experience. And to support you, like in this kind of explorative question, is also about, again, about like, how do I feel about myself? This is a question that you can ask. And also, how do I feel about other people? And I just add, this thing about loneliness as well, because when we, when we are thirsty, it is a sign that our body needs water or drink, liquid. So when we are lonely, that's also a sign, like, okay, we need that sense of connection, need a sense of belonging. So it is sometimes like when we are feeling that loneliness, it is also not a pleasant place, and we might be so busy avoiding it, like keeping ourselves busy with so many things, perhaps also with social activities, with that intention of creating connection. But I just want to to plant this awareness as well, kind of just being surrounded by people doesn't mean it is the remedy of loneliness, of belonging.
If you put it in context of high achievers, so a lot of high achievers are very fragmented, and they're achievers because the value system isn't in people, but it's within achievement. So if you look at structures for businesses, people that are on that path, very driven, very focused, climb all the way to the top of the ladder.
Mm.
Ironman 12 hours. I mean, just as an example, I'm not speaking about myself. But it's an example of if you aren't sure and if you belong, you throw yourself into tangible things to quantify that. So that external validation can be very dangerous if you're unaware of the driving force of it. So just to kind of give you guys a very tangible avatar of what that means in translation of actual human interaction. Sometimes it's not safe for people to have those relationships, but it is safe to have that sense of belonging through things, whether it's promotions, money, toys, the material world. So something to think about for you guys too.
Yeah. Yes. And I want to formulate that into a question also, like, do I have to be useful to receive love or to receive acceptance? I think to connect with this, like kind of this high performing values, like, do I always have to, to be productive, like to belong somewhere? And the questions can be, of course, like, can be fully personalized to you, like your situation, but these are just some starting points to start the reflection.
Irene, I think that,
Mm.
that from the perspective of being worthy enough to be loved, at this moment, I don't think that it depends on an achievement or something like that. So 20 years ago, I definitely thought it was about achievement, but now not anymore. So I feel relatively good about myself. However, still then a challenge. That is my personal journey in the beginning. Then what does it mean with my connection to other people? Because you still notice in your surroundings that achievement is valued, or that that people not you have to do something to earn their love. And I'm personally not anymore convinced that it's necessary. But you still sometimes come in situations where you still feel that that is the, let's say, social standard for the group of people where you're in at that moment. And then it's always a challenge. Well, you want to belong also in this social setting. How much do you adapt, and how much do you say true to yourself, like I also said in the beginning? So that's a challenge for me
Yeah.
with this question.
An honest question to you, Rob. Do you really want to belong to those social clique?
Now, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But still, I do the phoning also. So that's yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a it is also a process. Like you've been on the journey, like from like tying achievement with being accepted or being appreciated, and now like, okay, you are exploring also another way of being, and it is it is kind of like, it's always a spectrum, sometimes like perhaps like for serving our purpose, like, okay, like we need to, of course, adapt to a certain people, like but also like what is really true. I think that's the important thing is whether we can still speak up our truth, whether we can express our opinions also, or our views about it freely, though respectfully. And that is also kind of it can be a litmus check for our surrounding, for the people that we are dealing with. Okay, like, so this is how I feel things, how I feel about this topic, and I'm curious how do you how do you take this, or what's your perception now. So it is something I'm aware it can be quite scary and quite vulnerable, kind of to really speak out your truth. And it is also something that that doesn't always fit, like you always have to do it, because I also see the values of sometimes like, okay, not revealing everything or white lies, but it is the exploration. It is the living homework, you can say, the research.
And Irene, how do you do this then? If you come in a social setting where you say, well, this is not the place, you ask me the question, do you want to be there? But if you are in a situation that you don't want to be in there, do you then step out of that? Is that a very simple decision then to make, than to distance yourself from these
Kind
group of
of,
people?
what kind of situation? Can you give me an example, Rob?
Let's say you're in a sporting club. Let's say you do volleyball, and then you think, well, this is the sport is nice, but the group of people doesn't feel right, but you still want to fit in, and you come to the conclusion this is not the group, so I don't want to be there. Is it then easy for you to step out of it? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
for my, it is. You are the best judge of your situation. But in my case, it is something that I would perhaps like put boundaries also. Like, okay, guys, like it was nice playing volleyball with you, and but I prefer to be in my personal bubble now, and see you next training, something like that.
Okay.
But it is, I'm aware it is also not that easy, and for that reason, actually, I don't do like team sports. So I also feel like, okay, like my kind of sport activities is kind of the more like with one partner. I do rock climbing, for instance, so that is like just with one other person, my belaying partner, or dancing, that's also kind of like more one-on-one or individual. I'm curious also if there's some more views or reflections.
From a sporting background, I grew up with athletes, and I've had 20 plus years of team sports experience. And there's a couple different layers to Rob's example. So on a personal level, if you evaluate why you're doing it, are you doing this for the connection and for the community, or are you doing this because the actual physical fitness feels good for you? If you're doing it because the physical fitness feels good for you, it's easier, not easy, but easier to kind of block out the external and focus on building your machine. If you're doing the sport because of the community, that's going to be very difficult to walk away from, because then your feelings are involved, and then you have attachments to the different people, because the intention is to build these bonds, and you're kind of the perceived rejection because you don't feel like you belong for whatever reason. So if that is the case and you're looking for community, I have found tremendous value in being able to find communities that resonate. Another way of looking at this, when I was doing Ironman for a full Ironman, I hung out with Ironmen, I hung out with cyclists, I hung out with swimmers, I hung out with runners, I hung out with half Ironmen, I hung out with all these different people, all athletes. The difference is the mindset of a 70.3 versus 140.6 is very different. Very different. It's the difference between a marketing creative person and an accountant, if you have to put it into business context. I was not able, recognizing my weaknesses, there is no way I would have gotten past my finish line if I continued hanging around with the 70.3. It's not that they're bad people. It's because my intention was to understand myself at a deeper level to get me through 140.6 kilometers. So just another example of, you have, once you understand, reflect inward on what are you trying to extract, what is your need that needs to be filled, what is the intention behind what you're doing. Again, if it's building your machine, it's easier to kind of put those walls up and just get your activity in. If you're doing it for the community, that's going to make it a little bit more challenging for you. Hopefully that kind of sheds a little bit of light through example.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, nice example, Jess. I'm also reflecting as I'm listening to it. I'm curious, is it time for some movement? You've been warned, there'll be some movement in this session. So I thought, you can do this sitting, but I would really encourage you to stand up, if you like. We can also build our way there. I'm actually going to already set up my standing station. So I'm going to offer you this. There actually, we're talking about connection, and Now there's always like this important connection is connection to ourselves. And there's so much that we can already explore within our own body. There's like so much connectivity there. Yeah. And the first and foremost important connection is with our breathing. Yeah. So you might, yeah. So you might notice even now, however movement you're doing, or like if you're breathing, you're noticing there's movement already. Yeah, there's sensation of like rising and falling. Yeah, so I'd like to invite you to kind of visualize that and also embody that like in your movement. And just like a very simple one, we can start with our fingers and our hands. Yeah, so breathing in, breathing out. Find yourself like, okay, how can you give shape to your breathing? You can try with the other fingers and hands. And also bring that awareness that, oh, I can also extend that to my whole arm, for instance. So it's a bit like Qigong practice, which we also have in this mental health month. And okay, this was the arms. We can also add in the feet and the toes. Yeah, so you can lift your toes up when you're breathing in and plant them back to the floor when you breathe out. Kind of acknowledging the sensation of rising and falling.
If you have tingles, that's your body saying thank you for the extra oxygen.
Yeah, just connecting with the breathing, simple and easy. And we also kind of notice, oh, okay, like how is the rhythm? Do I need more oxygen in? All right, so I'm going to challenge you a bit more. Yeah, if you like, really make yourself big on the breathing in and breathing out. Like, it's okay to come back to your normal self. Yeah, so breathing in, there's this expansion, however you want it, and breathing out and closing. And with the awareness of your center, the belly button area here. And as you expand, like, oh, okay, what are the connection between my limbs and my center? And breathe it out. And in your own tempo, you can tune in with your breathe in. And you can lift this up here, the arms. Yeah, so we are going to also explore the connectivity of our head. Yeah, you can touch your head if you want. And it's kind of connected with the spine all the way down to the tail. Yeah. So you can do with your arms, that's okay. Like, how is it to, yeah, for instance, like, no, where is the head and where is the tail? Just being aware, oh, there's this, yeah, this connection as well, that we have the head going one way and the tail can go the other way, or it can be, pointing in the same direction. And you cannot do anything wrong here. It's just like, okay, feeling where the head and its connection to the tail. And we can also, now this is like one dimension here. And if you do some yoga, you might be aware of the pose, the cat and cow. I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see you. So yeah, this is the cat, I think. Yeah, and then the cow. So I'm going to show you in profile, like the cat and the cow. Yeah. So see, like if you can combine that possibilities, because like our spine, it has like really flexible connection actually. So from like going here, and then for instance, like the cow, and then the other side, and then back to the cat. Yeah. So going around like, and just visualize how the head tail connection, how the spine is being shaped. All right. And there's so much more actually with this connection. We can do also, we have also this connection, the body half. Yeah. So like if you have one side here stabilizing, yeah, and you can like lift the limb on one side together. So you feel that, okay, there's one side stabilizing, and then the other side is kind of again like this enclosing, expanding and enclosing. Make your own dance. How you want it to be, like, oh, okay. Expanding and enclosing. And do the other side. Now the opposite side stabilizes. And there's no wrong movement. It's just like kind of feeling this connection, between the part that is stabilizing and the part that is moving. There's also a connection there. Okay. And one last thing is this, the cross body. Yeah, so like this, I'm doing now with my left arm, right leg. You can switch the other side. So as you are playing with this, can also try out, like which connectivity kind of gives you a sense of comfort, gives you a sense of safety, or like makes you feel centered. And every person might have different answer, and that's completely okay. And perhaps even your answer now might change in 1 hour, or tomorrow it might be completely different. What can give you comfort, safety, and some centering? So as you are exploring, this connectivity, also listen in, like, okay, is there any of this kind of a stress response? Is there any of the fight, flight, or freeze response right now? And is there any unrest? And you can allow that. Just for this moment, we take 1 minute. You can allow it to move you, whatever unrest it is. There's no judgment. And you can also kind of bring it back, like with your movement, Okay, what gives me now that safety? Right. So with your kind of this connectivity that is alive right now make a movement as a closure.
For some people, that might be like left dominant or right dominant. Do you feel the connection between your left and your right? Or do you feel perhaps a little bit more safe in one side of your body as opposed to the other? How are your feet connecting with the ground as you're doing all these different movements? Do you feel a little bit more secure and stable on one side of the body, and maybe those ankles are wiggling a little bit in the other? Different things to just start observing. Also check your posture, just check in with your body. Again, there's no judgment. Check in with on how you might be standing just a little bit taller and a little bit more chest out and shoulders back if maybe you're on your left versus your right. Pay attention to how your movements might be a little bit more exaggerated. I'm left dominant, so it's easier for me to kind of, have a little bit more fluid moments. Pay attention, check in, increase your awareness on what's happening in your body as you're going through all the motions that Irene is outlining for you. Again, no judgments, just increase your awareness. See which side feels a little bit more safe for you to be in your body as you explore it.
Yes, and you can always slow it down. There's no rush, especially like with the invitation from Jess to create this awareness. Yeah, it is kind of the slowing down can really help. All right. Okay. So still in that kind of this flowy, slow, gentle movement. Now create that closure for yourself. Perhaps like, okay, a gesture or where you feel yourself right now. It can all be different. Yes, just tuning in. Okay, which of the posture or a gesture that I feel that I am myself right now. Okay. Now I'm aware of the time. Yeah, it's already 4 minutes past. Yeah, I still want to kind of invite you if you're if you have the space now to actually to share your experience in a smaller breakout rooms. So yeah, okay, wonderful. So Jess, could you help me setting up the breakout rooms? Yes.
Should we do 2 or 3?
How many are we? Shall we do 3?
Can.
Okay, yeah, then. All right. So you can choose either one of these, or you can also choose yourself what you want to share. Yeah, but if you, what should I share? Like you can use either of these as a guide. Okay, see you in around 10 minutes.
Oversimplified. Once I joined, everyone was just in absolute giggles, which I think is an amazing physical response and emotional response to the breathing exercise and the embodiment exercise that you had walked us through, which is just amazing. And we got into a discussion on the nuance of breathing. If you focus on the inhale, you could oversimplify that you might be classified as an introvert, or sorry, as an extrovert. because you're breathing the external world into the body. And then if you focus on the exhale, then you are an introvert because you're breathing your internal world into the external world. And we just had a really productive conversation, kind of honoring the effects of the embodiment exercise, which I think is beautiful.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I never thought of like connecting it with this extrovert and introvert. Yes. Yeah, I can share a bit. So we had a bit of technical issue in the breakout room, but yeah, we did share about kind of this physical, physical connection. That's also something that I want to acknowledge. That's especially like when it is kind of there's so much richness there that that can make the communication also more well-rounded, because there's so much more than just the words and the 2D view of a person. And that it is a kind of the challenge, but also the opportunity, like, okay, how can we create that in our day-to-day life?
We also had an opportunity to redefine meditation. And then to also define feelings. Like when you say, how do you feel? Are you saying, how do you feel? And, you know, this is being a words person. You don't have to attach it with an actual emotion, but you can say it in terms of, I feel tense. I feel, you know, apprehensive, like, you know, physical things rather than descriptive emotion type words. And then for meditation, it was oversimplified to observation. So if we're just observing what's happening rather than, you know, like the traditional society home, like that type of thing. So I think that made it a little bit more simple for our group as well.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that insight back into this main room. I thought I would love to connect that actually with the next thing that I'm going to ask. It's kind of a living, you know, about this daily action. And I would love to share about, you know, like because like where I'm coming from is also from mindfulness practice, and there is there's this kind of insight of looking at things, which is called the interbeing. So that is the awareness that we are all interconnected. And not only human to human interconnected, but also with our surrounding. You know, the chair we sit on, if you think of it like, who built this chair? Who delivered it to your house? And, you know, it's made of like many small components. Oh, where did it grow? You know, like, and how was it, like, which factory was it processed? Who has touched it to kind of to create this thing that serves you right now as a chair? And this is a contemplation that we can, you know, even like if there's an absence of this physical connection with human, like with our surrounding, with the tree, or with I don't know, like with the park, you can see so many living things also there, kind of to have that contemplation. Where does it come from? How is it connected with me, with the sun, with the soil? So it is an open invitation. And I would be also, we would be happy to hear, like, oh, okay, like what daily action are you willing to create, to do, to nurture this sense of connection? Now, I don't know if my example just now makes sense.
Another example would be when you have a meal. So thinking about the supply chain. So at whatever you have on your plate, say that it's a piece of fish, some rice, and then some vegetables. So as you have gratitude for that entire plate, you think about, okay, this fish, before it was on my plate, how did it get to my plate? And then you think about all the way through that supply chain process, all the way to wherever the lake or the ocean that fish was, once swimming in. From the rice perspective, you could be thinking about, again, the supply chain of how did that piece of rice or that pile of rice get onto your plate? Who were the different, what were the different parts of the journey for that rice to get there? Who were the farmers that helped actually plant the seed and the seasons for the watering and everything like that? And then the same thing again, so times 3, right? For the fish, your protein, for the starch, and then also for the fruits or vegetables. And then think about if it's broccoli as an example, how did that broccoli, little mini trees, how did they grow? What was their season? Where did they come from? How did they get onto that plate? So just another framing to kind of think about the interconnectedness.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, really wonderful. Yeah, these examples. It is also kind of the practice of mindful eating. Also involves that contemplation, like, okay, where is my food coming from? And all the things that we use, that we consume, that can also be nurturing our sense of connection. Not to dismiss that, okay, the real human to human connection is still important as well. But these are all the little things that could maybe spark your your imagination. Okay, we are all connected in a sense. I'm curious, if there's any reflection from any one of you. You can always share in the chat, that's possible. So, while you're thinking about it, like I sense like, you're quiet, but there is so much processing kind of the experience. So still at connection. So an invitation also to you, because some of you are aware, like this is a series of workshops. Would you be willing, now that you have contemplated about connection, and some of you also already thought about presence, would you like to play with us next week? Yeah, okay, good. Then same time, same place, and
Same link, same everything.
same.
Another thing to also kind of, further edify and support Irene's words and her intention. I think if you look at the whole series, week 1 was about kind of grounding yourself. So getting really present. And then now we go a little bit deeper with the connection. Number 1, kind of like when you're in an airplane, you focus on, taking care of yourself. You got to put that mask on. So connect with yourself. What does that feel like? What does that represent? How do you define that? All the different things associated with being connected to self. Once you're connected to self, then connect to your external world, or at least have that intention to start asking those types of questions. And that's where we lead into play, because play is just when you're in that moment of pure joy, pure presence, and pure connectedness. So just different ways of kind of framing it and ways to kind of embody it.
Yeah, in the moment also, we play also in the right here, right now. Yeah. And I want to acknowledge Claudia, mindful eating, something I'm happy to focus on. Wonderful. Yes. That's also, it's always food is something that connects people as well. Just to say it literally. All right. So we are at the closure of this session. We are wrapping up. Now, this is invitation again, like in one word or sentence. How would you express your experience? You can type it, you can speak it up. Great experience. Nice. Thank you, Rob. Yeah.
I would say grounding.
Grounding. Okay. I feel spaciousness. That's my feeling. Okay. Wonderful.
I I think all of the different experiences that we have throughout the week, and even just today alone, I think it's always important to remember to get back into our body and get back into, yes, our head is connected to our body, but when we live up here, we don't experience a lot because we experience the perceptions of what we think is happening. So that's why we get stressed out. That's why we get scared. That's why we get fearful. That's why we get nervous. That's why we get anxious. I mean, all the different things are because we're living up here instead of in here. So for me, grounding represents being able to take the shortest, longest journey in the world and get from here back to here. And for me, we had spoke about this last week. When you're here, you feel that joy, you feel that abundance, you feel that openness, you feel that lightness, you feel all of that. So to me, today's exercise is just an immense gratitude for everybody that showed up, conscious or otherwise. I think that you guys are incredible and you've done some really good work. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to share this space with everyone.
Yes, yeah. Showing up is half the work.
Mm-hmm.
I think by showing up, taking that step, like, okay, like there's all the possibility to take the next and the next steps. And that's how we practice. And I want to, appreciate you all for your work. Okay. So how about we round it up? Like we see you then next week again for playfulness.
Big spirit
Thank
fingers,
you.
magic from Chicago all the way across the pond, everybody else.
Yes.
Thank
you
you to
all.
everybody. Have a great weekend and see everybody hopefully next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Rob. Bye-bye, Claudia.
Bye-bye.
Mari, Stuart.